Hello, 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 everybody. I want to apologize first off for the time change debacle. We had some technical difficulties and time changes, which are unnecessary, and hegemonic tools for control came into play. So, those of you who signed up to be here, I hope you're still here or you're going to join us shortly. And please at least watch the replay. So welcome to Beyond Hegemony. We got stuff to talk about this week, boy. But like we said before, we're going to have some pillars that we're going to be focusing on. And the pillar for the next two episodes is going to be technology and how hegemony uses it, how we can better utilize it for global change and to lift people up rather than to oppress people. So I'm going to start it off because I was saying I'm on fire this week because I saw something that really, really kind of pissed me off, like beyond belief. But, and this is happening in the UK right now. And I see little inklings of it spreading its tendrils of evil out into the rest of the world. But there is new processes being put in place by certain grocery chains. And the one that I saw was Aldi, where you cannot go in and out of the grocery store without a phone app to scan yourself in and out. And I'm going to assume that includes kind of counting your grocery consumption and how much you spend and everything. I can't tell you the issues that the hegemonic controls that go in place with this. For one thing, the disenfranchised people who maybe can't afford a cell phone, how are they going to go in and grocery shop? How are they going to sustain themselves as little control as they have already, because they're already on the fringes, they're already struggling. Now they're going to be stopped from just going in and grabbing an apple, a pear, a loaf of bread, because they don't have the technology to scan a stupid scanner to get in and out of the grocery store. That really irks me. So talk about tracking on a mass scale. What do you guys think?
So I think what is happening with technology in the hands of tech bros, Silicon Valley billionaires, who can only survive through extreme control of the rest of the resources and the planet and the people. So they have now resorted to a sort of Machiavellian control in every sphere. So in India, for example, they have created apps which are supposed to, quote unquote, make travel easier, but it's basically scanning your face and taking your picture as you enter airports, as you board trains. And then there is this thing where we have an Aadhaar card, which is supposed to be linked to all your accounts. Now imagine the absolute extreme poor who live in the extreme regions of the country, where there is neither Wi-Fi nor internet, hardly any electricity, hardly any potable drinking water, and they're expected to log in and prove that they are working to get their meager amount so that they can survive month on month. Now, if they could do all of that, they wouldn't need that amount dole out, right? They would do something different. They would be somewhere else. The whole point of all of this is not to use technology for the upliftment of the oppressed and the suppressed, or the betterment of, creating better futures. No. Technology is purely a tool of control, now taken to its absolute extreme in an almost, I call it tech dystopia. So we are creating a world ruled by technology, which is supposedly uber connected, where you can, sit in your home in some remote corner and find out what is happening in the heart of Washington, D.C. But people have never been more lonelier, more solitary, more isolated, more scared of their neighbors, scared of themselves, scared of everything that is happening, because this deliberate surveillance and the deliberate algorithms are creating a tech dystopia that is meant to keep people apart, while
Right.
the top billionaires and the trillionaires and the tech bros have the the control of surveilling and
Mm.
basically playing with your attention, farming your anger, using your anger as clickbait. That's all
Mm-hmm.
they're doing.
Mm-hmm. And the
It is
ADL even
technology
admitted,
for betterment is not going to exist in from this corner.
right. And the ADL, for example, even admitted that they've created this Silicon Valley type tech empire around controlling and surveilling everything that we do. And I mean, I heard, the biggest, who's the biggest purveyors and owners of cybersecurity right now in the world? And who are we having the hugest issue with right now in the world? I swear it's all interconnected. And what I've heard the term digital prison. Who else has been living in a prison and being tested on? Mm.
Wow. How to follow those openings, Trina and Sahana. I think it's one of these things that we almost don't want to believe. It's true, right? Like
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
it's so insidious. It's so helpful to be able to self-scan and collect your food as you go around. It's going to save you a nanosecond compared to what you used to do with a shopping trolley, right? There's these really silly anecdotes around why we're having so much technology being used in shopping, in airports, etc. But I think this digital exclusion is so damn important, because that's what it is. We can call it oppression, we can call it a whole range of other things, but it's digital inclusion by design. And I'll give you another example. So I do a lot of community work here in my local context in the UK. And I was reminded, because I forget, honestly, because of this system, I was a group with around 15 sort of older people. They're in their sort of 70s and 80s, lovely community group, just sharing about local community work, etc. And they said, we don't use phones. Either I'm not comfortable to use it or I don't use them at all. And literally everything that surrounds me is a QR code. You need to log on to this. You need to sign up to that. So it's just everywhere. Like everything is designed to outsource our humanity to some form of machinery or form or digital app. And I just don't think people realize what's happening, Trina, Sahana, not to this level of design and sort of humanity capture. It's just
Right.
mind blowing.
Right. And they kind of cover it up. And there's a tactic that I've seen over the years where they put something out new. For example, well, AI, it's free, it's wonderful, it's going to make your life easier. And then all of a sudden you're a slave to it because you cannot detach from it. I had my screen on my iPhone go out, and I realized that I couldn't access this and I couldn't access that, and so I ended up having to go spend, a little bit amount of money to get the screen replaced. First they create a problem. The technology is not the best technology. It is not. They make the materials flimsy. They make everything back in the 1950s, when cars first came out. They were like tanks, to the point where they still use them in Cuba. They're still running, you know, and they're collectibles, in the United States. But that's because things were made to last. Now every single technology you buy has an expiration, and it's on purpose. What are we on? 15, iPhone 15 or something crazy? Like, and then they put in technology in order to make the other thing inert and unable to use in the same way, whether it's from software uploads, whether it's from, it's usually software uploads, updates, whatever, that make the device slow down, that make the device no longer work the way it was intended to. It's totally, totally corrupt and hegemonic. You know, AI is not, I always say AI is not our friend. And I think, what is it, Jon Stewart? He put on a funny show. I'm so glad to see him at the Daily Show again. But he made a whole episode talking about in exposing these tech giants, saying that AI is going to be our tool. It's like having a mini assistant. And the satire around it was hilarious. But he's exposing the fact that no, it's here to replace us. And there was some guy in India actually that fired 90% of his staff at some company. Did you hear about that, Sahana? He hired
No.
and then 90% of his staff was fired because he said the AI could do all the work that those people were doing. 90%.
And the challenge, the funny thing, or rather the sad thing with AI is it's basically a giant plagiarization machine, right? It's mashing up content that we have created all over the internet for years and decades without any kind of copyright, without obviously any kind of reference to any resource cited whatsoever, mashing them up and then creating this ludicrous machine sounding bunches of text. So once you attune yourself, you can recognize AI generated text from human created text. And they read so like soulless advertisement. And AI is going to be a boon to not only for skullduggery and people who want to, create deep fakes and deep fake pawns using famous people's faces or whatever, but it is also going to completely, and it has already started completely flooding the internet with not even third, it's like fifth, sixth grade content, which is completely useless, which is not even clickbait, but it is just so flooding the internet. You are going to find the looking for actually good content, research based. Let's people like us who research are going to find it increasingly difficult to use the internet. So if to make a very I don't know if it's a radical statement or not, but I think AI is going to be the demise of internet the way we know it. It is
Yeah.
just going to flood internet with so much crap. Internet is just going to become absolute shithole that no one is going to visit. People will go back to their good old books or remember trying to navigate the world that the way we used to do 30 years before.
Yeah.
I don't know because AI is filling up the entire internet universe with or cyberverse or whatever the F it is called. It's so much
Mhm.
bullshit that it is absolutely insane.
Yeah. And that's the one thing that we all forget is that there's somebody programming. There's someone, I mean, perfect example was Wikipedia. There were I saw this whole episode about how Israel are hiring people to go through Wikipedia and change the information because it's a outsourced free source type of thing where people can upload information into it. And so the whole point of this whole crew where they're training is to go through and basically misinform everybody, go onto the site and just take out and misinform everybody. And I think that's the whole propaganda machine. And now it's just like being hiked up to the point where it's already hard to know what to believe, right? And that's purposeful. And that's why it's really important that we start really focusing on our understanding of things because we have a natural bullshit meter. It's just that we ignore it all the time because we're told to ignore it all the time. We already have it. And so once you go in more, you start to recognize that doesn't feel right. That feels like a lie. That feels like, and this is assuming that you have done the work, that you are accountable, that you're trying to heal yourself, that you're trying to be a better person or a better part of culture and society. not one of these megalomaniac psychopaths that are out here just flooding information that's false just for their personal gain. Okay, so
bit like me, right? As per YouTube.
oh yeah. Tell them what happened on YouTube, Gary.
So yeah, what a wonderful segue, Trina. So yes, we had if you go back and look at episode 2 of it was while our good friend and co-host Sahana was on a break. Trina and I did a 2-person Beyond Hegemony second episode, and I got a warning from YouTube. And the warning was because I was being accused of spreading misinformation about vaccines. And this is the funny bit when we talk about hegemony. As per the World Health Organization's guidelines on vaccines, which are the only thing that matters because guess who funds the World Health Organization? Closed sense. Anyway, so it's a very interesting challenge. And I went back straight away and said, look, I think you're taking this out of context. Look at the minute before and the minute after, and you'll see where that comment came from. Immediately, I had a response within 60 seconds to say, no, that warning will stay on you. There was no debate there. That was a system coming back that had already been told this is not allowed to be reviewed because we have made our mind up. The tech overlords, we believe that this person said something. We believe it challenges something that we believe. We don't want to have a conversation about it, so we're going to shut it down. And I think that for me is the real danger around technology. When we get to technology not only as an oppressive tool, but as a censorship medium in and of itself, you're like, ooh.
It's been that way for a while, though. It's not new. I mean, there even content creators on YouTube are telling the audience, I can't say this because of YouTube. That right there should be damning enough to YouTube to change its policies, because even the content creators are saying, okay, Big Papa YouTube is censoring us to the point where I can't say the most simplest things without being misconstrued or made into something else. I mean, it's basically the same thing with TikTok right now, and the US government and its backers claiming that our people are being spied on, when in fact we're constantly spied on. Constantly. It's built into our system. And it's just the veil is falling down on what it is, what freedom actually we don't have as a society, as a global society. It's a complete illusion at this point. And I think a lot of people are waking up and they're pissed off about it. I know that I was. And then I went to a place of, I don't care. It's not going to stop me from doing what I do, saying what I say, and believing what I believe. And that, I think, when you live in a system where that validation is at the root of control, then you act in accordance to it. But when you no longer care for the validation of toxic, psychopathic people, you still do what you're going to do, because the consequence is pretty much the same anyway. You know? So, yeah. I know that I'm tired of it.
Yeah. No, and also, of course, apart from technology being surveillance tool and censorship and creating of junk and all of that, then currently the major users of absolute cutting edge high technology, highest of tech, is the military industrial complex. With their drones, their lethal murderous weapons. They are supposed to be like autonomous weapons going out and killing people. Like disembodied autonomous weapons programmed in a certain way to go out and kill certain people. I mean, 10 years ago, we would have thought of this as the stuff of nightmarish science fiction.
Right.
So what happens? So if I were to kind of zoom out and see this hegemonic thing as a living, as a living entity, it's like this hegemonic living entity which is constantly scanning the globe with the perspective of devouring and controlling and using everything that comes its way to devour, control, and completely obliterate. So think of these drones, these awful looking things that zoom in and just kill people. And then someone will say, oh, it's not humans, it's drones, drone warfare. What is drone warfare? Who's programmed those drones? Why are they allowed to be used? They were
Hmm.
not programmed by some disembodied alien from some another planet. They were programmed by people sitting here who are paid trillions to forget their humanity, who are paid and bought people who are leading countries and nation states who should actually not even be in any civil society anywhere, who are paid and bought by a handful of cartel of billionaires. And they are programming stuff to kill other humans just because they stand to profit. But one day these drones, because they are autonomous, quote unquote, will turn on the creators.
Mm,
The moment
yeah.
one creator says no to any one hegemonic thing, that that drone, in some form or the other, will turn on the creators. And I think that is already in process. It's already happening in some way.
Mm, mm, interesting. Wow. Well, we can see with the current assassination of the people in the caravan for the World Central Kitchen, you know, how any kind of efforts for humanitarian purposes are being thwarted by, you know, technology. And you know, I've been trying to stay very grounded and not to, because keeping my vibration high is what should I say? Because we live in such a low vibrational state that that's what they feed off of, these people, and whatever you want to call them. I don't even call them people because I don't know that they have any humanity left in them. I don't know what they are. Um, but they're actually undermining themselves, and I'm here for it. Thank you for showing the entire world who you really are, so that the entire world can recognize that if we don't start standing up and making a stance and healing up, we're not going to be here much longer. We're going to have to, we're having a reckoning right now, I think. And hegemony is being seen for what it is. There's no more ability to bamboozle. That's how I feel. I'm just like, okay, so why are you doing this? A, B, C, and D? What's your real purpose? Oh, I learned something. You know, they want to control the internet and the information that we get because everybody is going deep diving into why is this happening right now. And this is what I want everybody to do. Have that polymathic mind. You have to start learning more. You need to start understanding more. You can't live in your bubble anymore because it's going to be destroyed regardless how small it becomes. Okay. So it is really, really time for us as a global community to get our heads out of the sand and stop being complicit and start discussing with each other these things.
Oh, thank you both for sharing. There's something I'd love to add to this much. So I watched an incredible video yesterday. And it was of two Black founder men and two incredible PhD women, all Black, all incredible minds, polymathic minds, as you described, Trina, like yourself and Sahana. And this is the big takeaway I took, which I think is relevant for this conversation, as in like beyond hegemony, around technology, etc. They were speaking about rest as anti-capitalist, rest
Right.
as revolutionary, rest
Yeah.
as a challenge to the status quo. And the way that they were sharing it from a very personal Black person context, because of course, and all that goes with that, but how that translates across context, even for myself, shall I say, not even, and for myself. It was an incredibly potent reminder that when we choose to challenge the tech, so I look all around me, my wife, the place that I work, the chemical industry, the world, we are already slaves to technology, people. It doesn't need to be an overlord. Excel, Salesforce, CRM package, the next iteration, we've all got to go digital. Like, it is relentless. So don't think for a second that you're not already controlled by technology, because you are. So the question is, and my invitation with this little share is, take rest, say no, say why. Because people aren't saying those. I'm not, people are just literally just going with it. And I'm just like, do we really need the next 12th upgrade of Salesforce and to get another super duper level understanding in Excel? Maybe, but probably not, to be honest. I want to go back to what Sahana offered. Let's connect again. I'm disconnecting from social media. I took 2 weeks off, which is a lot for me. And shall I tell you what came up for me? Is I don't even know if I want to be on there anymore. And if I do want to be on there, I'm going to be on there in such an intentional way.
Exactly.
Like, it's going to be so intentional. I didn't even realize what intentional meant until now.
Exactly.
So I just wanted to share those as well, because that rest as a revolutionary act was really struck me.
And I will tell you that that's probably one of the main things that I share with my clients, who are majority black women. And the concept of rest is so foreign to them sometimes that it's hard to break through. Well, I got to do this. I got to do that. I was like, no, you don't. That's just the programming that you have to do this or you have to do that. And as women are really stepping into their power, this 4B movement is about rest as well. And I see it spreading globally. I don't know if you've heard about this 4B movement.
No.
Oh, okay. So basically, the 4Bs stand for 4 Korean words. South Korean women are completely divesting from relationships with men. And it's because they have been treated so poorly culturally in their society. And so they're like, listen, we won't date you, we won't marry you, we won't procreate with you, and we will no longer support our oppression, and we don't really care if the entirety of our civilization goes extinct. And it's been quite effective. You know, it made me deep dive into deeper understanding of why, what is this about? And I see even myself practice that. I see even other women are like, I'm no longer in a place of oppression and servitude to men. I will not be objectified. I will not be toiling away caring for somebody that shows very little caring for me. And if that has to, in civilization, in society as a whole, oh well, I guess you need to change. So that's the 4B movement. And men are losing it. They're losing it. And there's a whole bunch of propaganda coming out. Oh, what if you're being selfish? You know, you have to do this, you have to do that. No, we really don't. No. And I can spread that 4B movement out into the greater, you know, macro of culture and society. All we have to do, and we've discussed this before, is stop. But is that stop, rest, and reset and reassess what we want as a global 99%. What do we want? And quite frankly, I think people are undermining themselves, they're undervaluing their power that they have. And because we've been programmed to be in such a state of fear. I'm going to be uncomfortable. That's okay. Be uncomfortable. It's discomfort or death. Which one? You know? And so I just think people need to empower themselves more. And that empowerment comes with that healing that I'm talking about, that process of learning how to go inside and really figure out what's important to you. Yeah.
I mean, the more, so I still have a Facebook account, which I haven't visited in the last 4 years. So I just stepped off Facebook. I used to wonder, what is happening there? Will I miss anything? I didn't. In a month, I just forgot it exists. I don't even have the app on my phone anymore. Instagram, I created an account purely to upload stuff around the pluriverse. But the moment I realized it's owned by that same guy who owns Facebook, I was like, this is not my platform. So I have some stuff there, some images around and only about the pluriverse, but I don't do it anymore. I don't even have the app. And so the only place I think I use intentionally is the place where I write, whether it's like Substack or and LinkedIn. And what that has done, I've realized, is not only has it taken away those clickbait toxicity, but it frees up your attention for really intentional, heartfelt, soulful stuff. Whatever you like doing, whether it is planting trees or whether it is, reading or walking or just doing nothing. I mean, half the time I just sit here and I'm staring at my plants, and half an hour later I realize I've just been staring at my plants for half an hour doing nothing.
Lovely.
Just seeing the leaves sort of, different kinds of leaves just move in the breeze. And that's fine. But this is precisely what the hegemony is scared of, because they can't control you if you are not using the platforms of control. And where will they send the ads to? How will they make you buy stuff you don't need? How will they make you do stuff you don't need? How will they farm your anger if you are not giving into clickbait? How will they influence your mind if you are not willing and open to even listening to what they're saying? And if you just go around like me blocking all kinds of stuff, I mean, I just block. I don't even see. I just block. So basically, the moment we end up with a clean canvas and intentional engagement, you realize you have ample time for stuff that you really, really want to do. Rest, rejuvenate, create, have fun, listen to music, or like me, just stare at my plants and admire their leaves. That's
Yes.
it. And the hegemony can't do anything with. Once you step off that platform, the platform surveillance capitalism, they've lost you. The problem is we are still connected to it, partly addiction, and partly because the hegemony has created a world where you need to make a living at the cost of your life to put bread on the table. So we have to recreate other worlds where we make a living and still have a life. And it's one and the same.
We have to create a world where we live. We live. We don't create a living. We live. We're just there. We are being. And then our resources and our the things that we need should not be at such exorbitant and ridiculous prices. Our basic needs are being taken away from us on a daily basis. And so we need to regain our sovereignty as a collective. And we do that by detaching from technology. We really do, because we stop valuing it. or at least their version of technology, the capitalistic buy, you need this, you need this latest that, when you don't. And I'm like you
Yeah.
guys, I've been off of, I rarely am on Facebook. If I'm there, it's intentional, like you said. I can't even tell you the last time I actually posted anything that wasn't on an auto click post. I'm not looking at the content. It's just like the same thing I did with fashion magazines decades ago. When I stopped looking at them, I stopped comparing myself to images that were impossible to attain, especially as a Black woman. These ideals, these images are just there to make you feel bad about yourself. And how can you love yourself and love other people if you got something constantly telling you there's something wrong with you? And that is hegemony. That is how they control, making you feel inadequate and seeking their validation through this thing or that thing or that thing or this thing. And we don't need any of those things. Most of the time we don't. So here is AI, another technology. We don't really need that. Do we? It's just capitalism.
And the funny thing is, I realized that we humans, as a human being, we tend to compare ourselves. Okay, I mean, a sibling will compare himself or herself with the other sibling or something,
Mm-hmm.
and it depends on the role models I'm comparing myself to.
Mm-hmm.
So intentionally, and especially this I've been doing for the past 6 months, and I find it so very mind opening. Intentionally, I've been looking for role models that I want to be like. And guess what? I've been finding people. So just this little detour, a little narrative. So the
Mm-hmm.
Sundarbans, I wrote a little bit about the Sundarbans a few days back, which is very close to my home in Calcutta. It's basically the largest mangrove ecosystem in the world. And the mangroves are now getting decimated because of cyclones, typhoons, tornadoes. Not tornadoes, but cyclones and the tidal surges are, destroying the mangroves. And what happens when the mangroves are destroyed is, first of all, it's livelihood for the people there, the inhabitants of those little islands. They are usually crab catchers, fishermen, and they live off that ecosystem. And what also happens, way more dangerous, is that once the mangroves are gone, the tigers start entering human habitat. Okay, because there literally tigers live, humans and tigers. The Royal Bengal tiger lives next door to each other. And humans, when they can't find what they need on the shores, go deeper into tiger territory. So the Sundarbans actually have a horde of women who are called tiger widows because their men folk have been dragged away by the tiger, eaten up by the tiger, or dragged away by crocs, huge 40 feet, 50 feet long. Now these women have formed little self-help groups, and they are planting saplings of mangroves along the edges to save the ecosystem and save their men. There are scores of these women who are widows and not widows who want to protect their ecosystem, protect it from salination and flooding. And they have a uniform. They all wear green saris, and they are planting and nurturing these mangroves all across the edges of Sundarbans for kilometers. Okay, now those are role models. I aspire to be like that. I aspire to have that courage. I don't care about fucking likes people have on Insta. I don't give a damn. That is the courage. They've never seen a cell phone in their lives. They don't care. They want to protect their ecosystem because for them, the tiger is not an enemy. One of the tiger widows who was interviewed says, what will the tiger, so they call the tiger god, okay? What will the tiger god do? Because his habitat is gone. So he has no option but to come into the city, come into our village. So they're not even villages, they're like little hamlets. There are like hundreds of islands with these little hamlets. So he has to eat. Once the mangroves are gone, his and Once the mangroves are gone, the deers are gone. Once the deers are gone, the tigers are hungry. They come into the human habitat. So that is the courage. That is the way to look at our land, relation with land. If I have to emulate and aspire to be someone, I would aspire to be like that. Not some vacuous capitalistic model that the surveillance capitalism wants to throw at me. And that is what they're scared of. That's why they keep these stories. You will only find them if you deliberately search. They won't come up in the algorithms. They don't want you to know the positive things happening around the world, the beautiful things that communities of people are capable of doing. They don't want you to know what solidarity and allyship and community can achieve. They don't. They want to keep all of that hidden and keep throwing rubbish junk at us so that we are constantly in a state of anger, distress, depression, and just on a mode of clickbait. The beautiful things are happening around the world. But they would rather show us a Dali which is crashing into a bridge like a drunken monster.
Another distraction. And they'd rather show us talk about P. Diddy and all these celebrities who are just slaves to the system. And they're, I always tell people all the time, I mean, I spent time in the entertainment industry and I was ready to go so quick because I could see that it was just broken people being used and exploited to make seem like they were having such a great time and a great life. But let me tell you, even though I've been coaching for about 5 years now, and this was many like decades ago. Even then, people would come to me and tell me about their problems. I don't know why. I guess I have that face. But these are high echelon people telling me how miserable their lives are and how they have no control over their lives, how they have to be an image, how they have to, just suffering. So I would tell people who are out here idol worshiping, because that's what it is, idol worshiping, that the grass is not greener on the other side. Embrace simpler and kinder and more compassionate things, and especially embrace yourself, because that's illusion. It's all fake. And quite frankly, it's the type of fake that's used to traffic people, to launder in drugs and launder the money into the system of entertainment. What enters you to attain an effect. So it's all an illusion, people. So focus on things that really matter. But I think we're almost to the top of the hour. Any last words, Gary?
I've got too many last words, but I just want to thank you two, as always, and anybody that's joined us or watching us back. I think what I'm really taking away is just, even in this conversation, the lightness that comes with that letting go of that idea that you need to be anywhere near technology, or the idea that, Sahana's beautiful story, of that. There are many people, the global majority, right, that aren't on mobile phones 24/7. This, and I think I'm reminded in this conversation of the beauty of my insignificance, and also the significant power that I have to say no. And I think they're two things that I'm really, really taken away from today's conversation. I wonder about yourself, Sahana. Thanks.
What I'm taking away and what I've kind of committed to myself to do is I will use technology the amount I need to use intentionally to highlight those stories, those corners, those pockets of the world that either do not have technology or do not have the leisure and the time to highlight what they're doing. They have to do. They can't sit and talk about what they're doing. So I'm going back to the story of the Sundarban women. And one of them, when someone went to interview them from one of the prestigious papers, and they're like, come with us to the field where we are planting the saplings. I can't sit here and jabber away about planting. You have to watch us do it. Because I don't have the time to sit here and talk with you. You have to come there and do it. And the city folk, a journalist, is literally up to his hips in, because Sundarban's mud will drag you in, at least to your hips. Okay? And you have to like sludge through it, literally like it's like gooey, chocolatey thing. And these women are there, they're comfortable, it's their element. And there's this poor, struggling journalist. But he goes there to capture their lives. But the point I'm trying to make is we don't all have to sludge in the mud, but if we don't enjoy it. But the point is, we can do what gives meaning and purpose to our lives. We don't have to become slaves of an imposed construct, imposed for the sake of selling us stuff we don't need and creating a culture of such vacuous thing called progress and development in the name of absolute extractivist exploitation of our soul, of our mind, of our hearts, that once we step off and zoom out and stay away, you begin to see it's almost like all their flaws, once they are off your mind and your heart and your soul and your body, you begin to feel how much they have been literally sucking the soul out of us just to make profit. So today, the rise of billionaires is not an anomaly. It is by design that the rest of the 99% of the population are either suffering, struggling, living paycheck to paycheck, or just plain poverty stricken and starving, while we have rising billionaires. Where is the limited resource of this planet going to? To a handful. They're sucking it dry, like literally like a suction pump drawing out our blood. Unless we step off this whole megalomaniac psychopathic deal, we can't see the beauty of the world around us. It is still there. It is still there. They haven't been able to destroy it yet.
And that was beautiful. And I think that's the perfect place to end. I don't really have anything to add to that. I just, other than less is more. And what we need to focus on to make ourselves happy is much smaller than what people think. And nobody should be striving to be a billionaire, because in order to be a billionaire, you've had to step on so many necks and destroy our environment. That's how I see it. So um, I think everybody who is watching this replay, unfortunately, I see a lot of people wasn't able to make it this time, but that's okay. That's why we record it. And I hope, Sahana, Gary, thank you for, as usual, for holding the space and being who you are. It gives me hope and faith in the world that there are kind and good people. And there are more of us than you think, people. There are more. So thank you for joining us today at Beyond Hegemony. Let's think beyond hegemony and make a better world. Bye.